Hey guys, I'm gonna do a quick tutorial here, a little add-on to something you might add on to a background or a scrolling background. So here we go. All I have right here is basically a stage with the color set to it, kind of a nighttime type color, and I've got a foreground kind of drawn out just using a pen tool, kind of inspired by a recent trip out to the desert, and um, kind of have a little desert terrain happening here. I'm going to keep with that theme. And this isn't really enough detail to show for an environment, even if it's the desert. I know it's pretty barren, but I'm going to add some other things in here. And since it's all going to be part of the foreground, I'm going to create a group or a folder, and I'm going to title this foreground. And this right here, it's underneath that folder, but it's not inside of it. So I'm going to take this and drag it. This is inside, this is outside. So I'm going to drag it inside of that folder and leave it at that. Now what I want to do is start building up some elements to throw on here. What I don't want to do is add it right on top of this layer. And so I'm going to create a new layer within this this folder here, and I'm going to call this one Prickly Pear. Not going to like that space, so I'm just going to underscore right there. And I'm going to have those prickly pear going to be up front, right? So I'm going to actually name that prickly pear -F for front. Oops. It's going to fill in the gaps for me. There we go. And then I'm going to add another one, and this is going to be prickly pear B for back. And so try to keep your things organized. It makes your layers easy to find. And what I'm going to start to do is build up for my prickly pear front. I'm going to build up some shapes. I'm going to use my oval tool. One thing you want to be aware of is that you should check out your tools. This right here opens up your edit toolbar. And so if you have any tools that you don't see over here that you want to use, you can grab these and drag them over so that they're available here. I think what this new version tried to do is clean this up and only have the tools here that you want to use. So let's get out of that and let's look at our prickly pear tool here. All right, so prickly pear tool, our prickly pear layer. And what I want to do is use my oval tool, and I'm going to start drawing out some elements that kind of look cactus-like, I guess. And I'm going to draw out an oval, and I'm going to paint said oval kind of a greenish color, like that. I'm going to alter that a little bit just to make it not so elementary maybe, and maybe take a look at my sub-selection tool and get into altering this shape just a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more cactus-like, I guess. So I'm going to reshape it because these little cactus aren't exactly, true ovals. Sorry for the noise behind me. So something like that. Now it looks like an alien head. Awesome. So I'm going to use my line tool here and give, oh, wait a second here. Okay, make sure I'm staying on the right layer. I'm on my line tool, and let's go back to this. And choose my line tool, and I'm going to start creating some little pricklies, right? So I'm just going to randomly throw these guys out here. Your elements are going to be a little different, I'm sure, but this will give you a good idea for how to build things on top of your foreground and have them all tween together at the same time. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to, whoa, wrong thing there. Let me lock that down so I don't mess with that anymore. What I want to do is take this object that I made, and this can go with any kind of object, and I want to make sure I double click on it, but look, it didn't choose everything. So I'm going to drag select over it. And I was able to do that because I have this locked down. So I have this done. I want to convert this into a symbol. I want to repeat this object to help me make a larger object. And so I'm going to go right click and convert to symbol. I'm going to say this is a prickly pear. And I'm going to leave it as a movie clip because it is going to move. And done. So if I look in my library, hey, look, a prickly pear. And it's highlighted with like a blue binding box. If I want to add more to this, now I can take this and like shift it around. I can transform it and turn it and scale it and squash it, stretch it, do all the things. I'm going to take this and drag it out here. So I can just take from my library and just like bloop, 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 and just do what I want. I can scale it. I can twist it. I can attach it. So you've seen prickly pears before, I think. So I'm going to kind of mimic what that kind of looks like. Remember, everything that is outside of this box, your stage, is not going to show. So it doesn't really matter what's out there. I'm going to do this. And I don't like that I'm piling everything on top of this one. So I can right click on this, go to arrange and send to back. Now it's being overlapped. Something simple, easy to do. Keeps your work from looking too elementary, too simple. I'm going to do the same thing with this. Yeah, you can squash some, twist them, do what you want. I'm going to send that one to the back as well. I'm going to add a little bit of a turn to it. There we go. So I'm building this up, making some different shapes. It's basically the same object though. And kind of turn it around, send this one to the back, add a little turn to it, and flip it over to the other side so it's not all the same repeating object. So there's something you can do. Now if I like that size, or if I copy that and paste it, now I've got another one here, and I'm going to turn that, do this, and it's still simple. So I'm starting to build this guy up. I like the size of this one, so I'm going to copy and paste that one, and I'm going to transform it, use Q, I'm going to turn it, rotate it, flip it around, I'm going to send it to the back. And now I've got like this nice little cactus. I like this guy, but I want him over here actually. Make this taller. So now I've got this cactus I'm starting to build up here. Let's say I'm happy with this and I want to repeat this thing. So I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to convert this whole thing into a symbol. I'm going to call this one cactus. Right. Now I've got a whole thing over here. I can take that, instead of rebuilding this whole thing, you can create several and repeat several different elements. So I've got this one, and this is on my prickly pear front layer. So these are the ones that are going to be in front of my background. I can scale these. I can make them look like they're further away in the foreground maybe, or they're just smaller. You can decide how you want to do it. And let's see, let's throw another one, but bigger out here. Now for the prickly pear back layer, let's drag a cactus plant back here and look what happens. It's in the foreground section still, but it's kind of like it's in between, like it's not quite in the foreground, not quite in the middle ground. So there I go. I have a few objects here that I can work with. Let's throw another one. Let's copy that one and paste. And I like how it's hiding over there. And let's throw it back here. All right, so I've got 3 layers as part of my foreground. I want to move them all at the same time. How am I going to do that? I'm going to select all the objects here. Oh, I'm going to unlock my foreground. Select all of the objects. Go to Modify and Group. Now what I want to do is create a tween. I'm going to go back here because this is 10 seconds long. I'm going to select all the things here, and I'm going to right-click, create a motion tween. Actually, I'm going to select just my foreground layer. I want it to be attached to this. All my other objects are fine, but I'm going to leave, they're all grouped together, but I'm going to assign my motion to my foreground as a whole. So I've got that one selected, and I'm going to right-click, create motion tween. I'm going to convert the whole thing into a symbol. So I'm converting my whole foreground into a symbol. Now I'm going to take it, oops. All right, so what I forgot to do is I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to convert everything into a symbol. I'm going to say foreground with cactus, with cactus, with cactus. And now I've got this whole thing here. Now with that done, I'm just going to choose one of these layers, and I'm going to create a motion tween, and I'm going to slide this whole thing together at the same time and stop. So now all that I see, now there's lots of different layers happening here, but I needed those to build up my scene here. So now I've got those added in there. They're all moving together. They're all part of the foreground, and they're made up of a bunch of different objects. So that's going to be pretty handy and good to know for building up a scene, as developed as you want to make it. Now, the more complicated the scenes, the more layers you're going to have, the more objects you're going to have, and then you're going to have to select everything and convert all of them into a symbol so that you can move them all together. Okay. Now, this is just the foreground. I would still create the same kind of objects for the middle ground and background, group them together, and have them all move at the same time. So that's another day, another story, another tutorial video that we'll get into